Hi, I'm Paula from Happy Yoga Wales, and this is a slow flow, a super slow flow for the third eye. So the third eye is all about our intuition. It's about trusting your instincts and going with your gut. So today in our practice, we're going to be moving very intuitively. So even when we come into poses that you're familiar with, seeing if we can move in a way that feels right, which might be different to how we normally move there. So we're going to be starting nice and slow and then getting even slower. So this is the perfect practice for the evening, the end of your day, just to wind down. You can do it anytime, but yeah, particularly yummy later on in the day. So I'm not using any props, but if you do have a block, that will be handy. And we're going to start today in a child's pose, a slightly different version to normal. So we're going to bring the big toes to touch and the knees a little bit closer than they would normally be. So just about in line with the hips. And then bring the torso over the thighs and then rest the forehead down. So if you have a block, then this is the perfect place for it. So just putting your forehead down on the block. I'm going to rest my forehead down on the floor. And then instead of reaching the arms out, we're going to take them behind us with the palms facing up and just allow the shoulders to roll forwards. And just take a few steady breaths here. Settling into your space. Our third eye is located in between the eyebrows and just up a little bit. And it is the same location as the pineal gland, and that is the gland that's responsible for producing melatonin, which is our hormone of sleep. So hence the super slow evening yoga practice today. So just tuning into that space and maybe visualizing the colour purple there. And just taking a few more breaths here. And our intention today, our affirmation, if you choose to use it, is I trust my inner wisdom. And taking our last breath here. And then bringing the hands either side of the head, gently lifting yourself up. And then from here, we're going to come forward, so kind of crawl your way forward, just move in any way that feels good. And lower your way down onto your belly and find a little Sphinx pose here. So bringing the elbows underneath the shoulders, lengthening the legs out of the low back, reach the chest forwards. And today think about this space in between the forehead, so you're in between the eyebrows, your third eye. And think about leading with the third eye into our poses. As if your intuition is guiding you in and out of our postures today. Letting the shoulders melt away, down, away from the ears. And feel the heart space just melting forwards into the chest. Last breath here. And then making a pillow, stacking the hands one on top of the other, and rest the forehead down on the backs of the hands. And just gently rock the forehead side to side here, maybe even make some little circles to stimulate the third eye, the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is also responsible for secreting serotonin, our happiness hormone. So we definitely want to keep it healthy. And then bringing the hands either side of you, just underneath the shoulders, we're going to press our way up to a tabletop. And moving into some cat-cows, but today, rather than moving through our regular cat-cow, I'm going to encourage you to move in any way that feels good. So we're going to inhale and let the belly come down, chest comes forward into our cow pose. And then exhale, draw the belly button in, press the ground away, and find our cat. So this is our basic pattern, but following your intuition, even closing the eyes, pausing, lingering in any places that feel good or feel like your body wants to linger. And all the while keeping the breath nice and easy, breathing in and out of the nose. So a little bit like our sacral chakra, where we're creative and fluid with the element of water. Our third eye chakra has this same kind of sense of just moving fluidly and in different ways, so whatever feels right in the present moment. And maybe even making some little circles with the hips here. Again, there's no right or wrong. And then when you're ready, we're going to come into our first downward facing dog. So spread those fingers nice and wide, maybe just rock forwards a little bit here, warming up the wrists and the fingers. And then when you're ready, tuck your toes, take a big breath in, and then exhale, lift the hips high. With long, straight arms, again, find a little bit of movement here. So bending the knees one at a time. And this really is my favourite way to practice. No rules, not worrying about what the shapes look like, but really going with how they feel and where the body wants to go. So maybe just rocking the hips side to side, lengthening through one side of the body a little bit more than the other. Or maybe you just want to be in stillness today. Just taking a few more steady breaths here, wherever you are. Keep pressing into those fingertips nice and strong. And then slowly walking the feet to the front of the mat. Coming onto the fingertips, bending the knees. I'm just pausing here in our forward fold. Bend the knees, really let the hips come up high to the sky. And the hands can rest on the floor. You can hold opposite elbows, or again, you can just swing side to side. Maybe keeping those eyes closed and just seeing what feels good, not worrying about what I'm doing or what you think this pose should look like. What is your instinct telling you to do? And then from here, we're going to roll our way up really slowly. So have a big bend in the knees, keep the chin tucked in. And then roll up one vertebrae at a time from the base of the spine. So the very last thing to come up is the chin as it comes parallel to the ground. And then we're going to come straight back down. So take a breath in. And then in reverse, we're going to drop the chin. So it's as though we're leading with our third eye. Letting your chin come in, shoulders round forwards. Rounding through the upper back and the mid back. Drawing the belly in as we round through the low back.
And coming all the way back down. And then coming back up again in your own time, so pressing firmly into the feet. Coming from the base of the spine first, keeping the arms hanging heavy, stacking the vertebrae on top of each other, one at a time.
And then last time back down, leading with the third eye.
And then when you arrive, we're just going to take the toes out at a diagonal. So we're keeping the heels in and the toes turned out at about 45 degrees. And then sinking the hips down, finding our yogi squat here. So if the heels lift, then that's absolutely fine. And again, you've guessed it, moving in any way that feels intuitive to you here. So you might keep the fingertips down, moving the hips and the knees. And then when you feel ready, we're going to pause in our yogi squat, bringing the hands together. And if the heels are lifted here, that's okay. You can come up onto your tiptoes. And then bringing the chin down so that the forehead, the third eye, touches the fingertips. Roll the shoulders down away from the ears. And close the eyes here, taking a few steady breaths. Feeling the pressure of the fingers against that space between the eyebrows. And just one more breath here. And then bring the fingertips back down, lift the hips, let the head come down. Bringing the feet back to hip distance apart. And then again, rolling up from the base of the spine. Keep the arms hanging heavy, chin tucked in. Strong legs here. And then when you arrive in mountain pose, keep going with the arms. So reach the arms out wide, all the way up, circling reaching for the sky. And then maybe gaze up if that feels good here on the neck. And draw the low belly in so the quads, the glutes are engaged. And just gazing up. So as well as lifting the chin up and forwards, think about looking up with the eyes. So looking beyond the eyebrows here. Keep reaching up with the fingers and pressing firmly down with the feet. And one more big breath. And then exhale, release the hands through heart center. And then turn to face the long edge of your mat. So similar thing here, we're going to turn the toes out at an angle. And we're going to sweep the arms up and find our star pose. So reach through the fingertips. Draw the low belly in, engage the quads so the legs are nice and strong, pressing firmly into all four corners of the feet. And then maybe keeping the spine exactly as it is, you could tilt the chin up and forward. So we're not just throwing the head back, we're lifting up actively and then maybe gazing up towards the third eye. And I'm not going to do that, I'm keeping my eyes closed because I'm staring right at the sun. Now, even with the eyes closed, you can still aim the gaze up. Take another big breath here. And then on an exhale, bring the hands to heart center and come down into your goddess squat. So you might need to move the feet slightly to make this comfortable. You want your knees in line with the toes. Reaching tall through the crown, we're not here too long. And again, just dip the chin down and let the fingertips touch the third eye. And then inhale, straighten in the legs. Now bring the feet so they're parallel to the edge of the mat here. You can have them turned out slightly if this feels better. Once we start moving, you'll know whether that's right for you or not. And we're just going to come down, again, moving intuitively, bending one knee at a time. So you can bring the hands to heart center, bring the hands to the hips. You could even bring the hands down, coming down a little bit lower. Walking the hands side to side. You could even let the heels lift on that bent leg, and the toes lift on the straight leg. And this is our Skandasana pose. So just moving intuitively, maybe lingering in these places that feel good. Even dropping the head. Speeding up and slowing down, however feels right today. And then when you're ready, we're just going to turn and face the front of our mat, coming into a low lunge here with our, well, I've got my left leg forward, it doesn't matter, just remember which side you've got forward because we're going to switch sides in a minute. So then from here, we're just going to put that back knee down to the ground and then wiggle your foot across to the opposite side of the mat. So my left foot has moved over to the right side of the mat and we're coming into our pigeon pose, our half pigeon. So picking up that back knee, stretching your right leg out long and then settling into the pose here, so moving the hips side to side. And if this isn't great on the knee, you can always come into a reclined pigeon pose, or a figure 4 pose, where you're lying on your back, crossing this ankle over the opposite thigh. So if you're here, you might want to pop something underneath this front hip for a little bit of support. And if you've got a little bit of space, you could come down onto the elbows. And then from here, placing a little bit of pressure again right on our third eye. So you could do that with a block if you have one, or a bolster, or you could just bend the elbows and rest the forehead in the hands, keeping the chin drawn in so the neck's nice and long. Or if you can reach the floor, stacking the forearms or the palms and rest in the forehead down here. We're just going to be here for 5 to 10 breaths. Again, settling into this pose, taking it nice and slow and easy. And taking our last breath here. And if the head is down, just slowly lifting yourself back up, bringing the hands either side of your, in front of you here, and then just roll onto that front hip. So whichever leg you got forward, rolling onto that front hip. And we're going to come all the way around so that we have this foot into the inner thigh of the opposite leg. So I have my left foot into the inner thigh of my right leg. So then draw the toes of the long leg back towards you and then turn the torso to face the long leg. And then reach tall through the crown of the head. You can even inhale the arms here to find a little bit of length, reaching the fingertips to the sky. And as you exhale, float the hands back down. Keep the chin drawn in and lead forward with the third eye. And just resting here, wherever you reach comfortably. And keep this fairly strong, so finding that balance of effort and ease here, drawing the toes back towards the shin, reaching the crown forwards, and letting that third eye shine down towards the leg. And as we slow down our practice, maybe even visualize the breath coming in through that space between the eyebrows. Imagining you could inhale there, sending the breath all the way down the spine and all the way out and down the legs, exhaling through the soles of the feet. And then walking the fingertips back up. So from here, we're going to take this straight leg and bend it and bring it over the top of the other leg. And we're setting up for our cow face pose. So
wiggling around, seeing if we can get the knees somewhere near stacked, one on top of the other, and then sitting nice and tall. The feet can come in towards the hips or a little bit further towards the edge of your mat if that's more comfortable. I like mine tucked in here. You can also sit on a block here as well if that's more comfortable for you. And then option here to take our eagle arm. So reach the fingertips out long, and we're going to bring the left arm underneath. Give yourself a big hug. You can stay here, or bring the backs of the arms together. Maybe even wrap the hands. Again, just listening to your intuition, your third eye, your intuition, your instinct knows exactly what is right for you. How many times have we pushed ourselves, pushed our bodies, knowing that actually maybe we shouldn't do this, and we've ended up getting injured. I know I've done that lots of times. So listen to what your body's telling you to do. And then release in the hands, stretch those arms out long. And bring the fingertips down to the ground just behind you so you can lift the knees and unwrap the legs. Take the feet out wider than the hips and just let them come from one side to the other, just releasing any tension that might be there. And then option here to come into a boat pose before we take those on the other side. If you're not feeling like a little bit of strength today, then no worries, just rest in a seated position or take a child's pose. But otherwise, squeezing the knees in towards the chest and lifting the chest forwards. And again, thinking about lifting the third eye straight ahead, reaching forwards with the fingertips. Big breath in. And then maybe it'll feel good today, holding onto the back of the thighs, chucking the chin, and taking a few rock and rolls up and down the spine. And then wherever you are, we're going to cross the ankles and come back into our tabletop position. And then bring in that right leg forward to find our lunge. So if you did the right leg first time round, then switch to the left. So this is our second side. So just moving here for a moment, loosening up those hips. And then when you're ready, moving that foot over to the opposite side of the mat, setting up for our pigeon pose. So letting the thigh face either straight ahead or slightly out at an angle. And just working into this pigeon, waking up the hips on this side. And again, tucking those toes and just lengthening that straight leg back behind you a little bit more before settling into the pose wherever you want to be. So if you want a block or a cushion under this front leg, then go ahead and grab one now if you haven't already. And then coming down to your version of pigeon. And remembering this side could be very different to the other. So just go into that place that feels right today. So our intuition is often at odds with our ego. So the ego wants us to do things that maybe we shouldn't, maybe aren't the best thing for us. And when we're aware of this, we know that we can work with it. We can listen to what's going on and respond in the most appropriate way. Just a few more breaths here.
ready, bringing those hands out in front of you. And we're just going to roll onto that front hip and come into our half butterfly fold here. So I'm going to keep rolling all the way around so that you can see me. There we go. So bringing that foot into the inner thigh and just sticking the bottom out here so we let the pelvis tilt forward slightly. And turning the torso to face that straight leg, reaching the arms up, find some length out of the waist, out of the pelvis, big inhale. And then exhale, float the hands down, reaching the forehead, the crown of the head forwards. I love these noisy birds. And again here, maybe visualizing that breath coming in through the third eye, all the way down the spine and out the legs and feet. And of course we don't actually breathe in that way, but with practice you might be able to feel the energy flowing through you and directing it to different parts of the body. And last breath here. And walking the hands back towards the hips. And we're going to come into our cow face pose. So bending that straight leg and then stacking it on top of the other one. I'm just going to spin around here so you can see me. So bring in the knees, something like stacked. Doesn't matter if they're not completely. If you're here, totally fine. And then sitting tall, reaching the arms out. When you're ready, bringing the right arm underneath this time. Giving yourself a little hug here. And then maybe going a little bit further, bringing the backs of the arms together, even bringing the palms together. So wherever you are, just make sure those shoulders can relax, gently pressing the elbows away from the body. Slowly releasing those arms, bringing the fingertips behind one more time, fingers face forward, just leaning back and uncrossing the legs here. And again, finding those windscreen wipers, taking the knees to one side and then over to the other. Okay, so before we come into our final relaxation, we're going to come into a seated position. So you can sit with your legs crossed like I am, or you can sit on your shins. You can sit on a block here as well if that feels better. So anyway, you can extend the spine nice and long. And then roll the shoulders back here and just reach tall through the crown of the head. So we're going to do some eye yoga. So with the eyes, we're going to look straight up and then around as if we were following a clock all the way around. And watch out for 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock, so I find that I tend to skip those, so it'd be interesting to know if you do the same. So breathing nice and steadily in and out of the nose, gazing up. I'm going to do this with my eyes closed because the sun is very bright. And just tracing a circle with the eyes, taking it nice and slow. And then when you make one complete circle, change in direction. And then pause in here. If the legs are crossed like mine, just reaching the fingertips forward, leading with the third eye. Take a breath. And then walk the fingertips back in. And just lean back on the hands here. So fingertips face forward, lifting through the chest, just a little back namaste. And then twist to your right. Gazing over the right shoulder.
twist into the left, gazing over the left shoulder. And then coming back to neutral, change the cross of the legs, so just lean back and bring the opposite leg in front. And we can do those circles, clock circles with the eyes one more time. So find your nice tall spine here. Hands can rest wherever is comfortable. And tracing our circles, first in one direction. Nice and slow. Seeing if we can see every number of the clock face. And then changing directions. I totally skipped number 2 then. And then reach tall through the crown of the head when you're ready. Reach the fingertips forwards one more time. Dip in the chin, press the hips back. Just a little stretch through the hips, maybe through the sides of the torso here. And then walking the hands back in. One more time, bring the fingertips behind, reach the chest up, slide the shoulder blades down the back. Maybe lift the chin and lift the gaze, looking up between the eyebrows. Exhale, chin comes back down. One more time, we're going to twist to the right, so left hand on right knee, gazing over the right shoulder. Back through centre and then twisting over to the left. And then coming back through centre. And we're going to make our way down onto our backs for our relaxation. But today we're going to come into legs up the wall pose. So if you've got a wall handy, then go ahead and use it. But you can do this without a wall if you don't have one. So I'm going to do mine without today. And this will be our final pose. So if you know that you prefer to take a regular Shavasana, then go ahead and take that instead. Otherwise, bring the feet underneath the hips and draw the knees in towards the chest one at a time. And then just lengthen the legs up towards the sky. You can have a slight bend in the knees here. And with the shoulder blades underneath you, nice and flat on the back, the chin drawn in slightly. You can either rest the hands either side of the hips or maybe take them up overhead. Again, go with what feels right for you today. And for our last few moments here, again, maybe visualize that space between the eyebrows as a purple glow. Inhaling into that space and letting the energy flow all the way down the body and out of the soles of the feet. And then repeating to yourself one more time, I trust my inner wisdom. Knowing that you have all the answers already inside of you.
The perfect response to every moment is right there. We just need to tune in and listen to our intuition, our inner wisdom. And so if your legs are up the wall or up in the air, just bend in one knee at a time. And bringing the soles of the feet back down to the ground. If you're in Shavasana, bringing the feet in and rolling onto one side. Taking a moment here. And when you're ready, coming on up. Using the hands as a support to find your comfortable seat. So sitting nice and tall here, roll the shoulders back, reach tall one more time through the crown of the head, and bring the hands to heart center. Bring the thumbs up to the third eye, and just find a little bit of pressure here, maybe closing the eyes. Well, thank you so much for practicing with me, and I do hope you've enjoyed this practice. And make sure you head over and check out the other chakra yoga practices on YouTube or at happyyoga.wales. And I'll see you next time on the mat.